January 26th, 1945. Holtzwihr, France. A burning American tank destroyer sat in the snow at the edge of a forest. Its crew was dead or gone. Its ammunition was cooking off in the heat, sending random explosions into the freezing air. Any soldier with any sense would have stayed away from it. Second Lieutenant Audie Murphy climbed on top of it. He grabbed the .50 caliber machine gun mounted on the turret, and he started firing at 250 German soldiers advancing across an open field toward his position. Alone, on a burning vehicle that could explode at any moment. For 1 hour. His commanding officer watched from the tree line and later said he had never seen anything like it in his life. The Germans couldn't understand what was happening. They had overwhelming numbers. They had tanks. They had artillery. And one American soldier was stopping them. When Murphy's company commander radioed him to ask about the enemy's position, Murphy's answer became legendary. "Just hold the phone, and I'll let you talk to them." Because the Germans were less than 50 yards away. This is the story of Audie Murphy. The boy the Army almost didn't take. The soldier who became the most decorated American combat veteran of World War II. And the man who came home from the war carrying wounds that no medal could heal. To understand what Audie Murphy accomplished, you have to understand where he came from. Hunt County, Texas, 1924. Audie Leon Murphy was born into poverty so severe it left marks that never fully healed. His father was a sharecropper who abandoned the family when Audie was a child. His mother worked herself to death trying to feed 12 children. By the time Audie was 16, his mother was gone. He became the head of the household. He hunted squirrels and rabbits to feed his younger brothers and sisters. He dropped out of school to work in the fields. He had never owned a pair of shoes that fit properly. When the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor on December 7th, 1941, Audie Murphy was 17 years old. He walked to the nearest recruiting office and tried to enlist. Every branch of the military turned him down. The Marine said he was too small. 5 feet, 5 inches. 112 pounds. The paratroopers said the same. The Navy said he was underage. His sister falsified his birth certificate to make him old enough. The Army looked at the skinny teenage boy standing in front of them. They almost said no. They said yes. It was the best decision the United States Army ever made. Audie Murphy shipped to North Africa in 1943. He was assigned to the 3rd Infantry Division, the Rock of the Marne. The 3rd Division was one of the most combat-experienced units in the American Army. They had fought in North Africa. They were heading to Sicily, then Italy, then France. Murphy arrived as a private. He had no combat experience, no military training beyond basic. He was a farm boy with a rifle. He was also the best natural shot his sergeant had ever seen. Years of hunting to feed his family had given Murphy something no amount of training could replicate: patience, stillness, an almost preternatural ability to read terrain and movement. His first combat in Sicily, Murphy spotted a German soldier. The rest of his squad had missed. He dropped him at 300 yards. His squad leader stopped and stared. "Where did you learn to shoot like that?" "I was hungry," Murphy said. Italy, 1943 to 1944. The 3rd Division fought its way up the Italian peninsula through some of the most brutal terrain in Europe: mountains, mud, rain. German defenders who had turned every ridge into a fortress. Murphy fought through all of it. He was promoted to corporal, then sergeant, then staff sergeant. He earned his first decorations, a Bronze Star, then another, then a Silver Star. But Murphy was also changing. He had seen friends die, men he had laughed with, eaten with, fought beside. He had watched a German soldier wave a white flag and then open fire when Americans came forward. Murphy shot him. He sat down afterward and felt something shift inside him. He wrote later that something had hardened. Something that used to feel guilt about killing had gone quiet. He had become exactly what the army needed, and exactly what he feared becoming. By the time the 3rd Division landed in southern France in August 1944, Murphy was one of the most decorated enlisted men in his division. He was also one of the most dangerous soldiers in the United States Army. August 1944, southern France. The 3rd Division drove north from the landing beaches, French towns, German defenders, house-to-house fighting. On August 15th, Murphy's best friend in the army was killed. Private Laddie Tipton had been Murphy's closest companion since North Africa. They had survived 2 years of combat together. A German soldier feigning surrender shot Tipton as he approached. Murphy watched his friend die. What happened next was witnessed by multiple soldiers and documented in official army records. Murphy attacked the German position alone. He killed the soldier who shot Tipton. Then he turned the German machine gun on the position it had been defending. He killed or drove off every German soldier in the area. When his sergeant tried to stop him, Murphy kept firing. When the position was destroyed, Murphy sat down next to Tipton's body. He didn't move for a long time. The war had taken something from him that day that he would spend the rest of his life trying to find. France. Winter, 1944 to 1945. By January 1945, Murphy had been in continuous combat for nearly 2 years. He had been wounded twice. He had fought in North Africa, Sicily, Italy, and France. He had been promoted to 2nd lieutenant, battlefield commission, one of the highest honors the Army could bestow on an enlisted soldier. The 3rd Division was fighting through the Alsace region of eastern France. January 26th, 1945. The village of Holtzwihr. Company B of the 15th Infantry Regiment was holding defensive positions at the edge of a forest. Murphy had about 19 men. German forces launched a major counterattack. 2 companies of German infantry, 6 tanks, approximately 250 soldiers. Murphy ordered his men to fall back into the trees as the German armor advanced. He called for artillery support by field telephone. Then, he saw the burning M10 tank destroyer abandoned in the field. The crew had evacuated when it was hit. The vehicle was burning. Ammunition was cooking off. Murphy made a decision that defied every instinct for self-preservation. He climbed on top of it. Before we get to what happened next, and the moment German commanders realized they were dealing with something they had never encountered before, take a second to subscribe to Secret War Journal. We tell the stories of the men who changed history. The ones the history books mention in one line, but who deserve so much more. Hit subscribe now so you never miss one. Murphy grabbed the .50 caliber machine gun mounted on the burning tank destroyer. He got on the field telephone with his artillery observer, and he started directing fire while simultaneously engaging German infantry at close range. The Germans were advancing across open ground. Murphy could see them clearly. He fired in long, controlled bursts. German soldiers went down. The advance slowed. The German company commanders couldn't understand what was happening. They had overwhelming numbers. They had armor. One American soldier was stopping them. They directed fire at the burning vehicle. Machine gun rounds sparked off the hull around Murphy. A tank shell landed close enough to knock him sideways. He kept firing. His company commander radioed him from the tree line. "Murphy, what is your situation? Where are the Germans?" Murphy's voice was completely calm. "Just hold the phone, and I'll let you talk to them." For an hour, Murphy held that position alone. When his field telephone line was finally shot away, he climbed down from the burning vehicle, which somehow never exploded, and led a counterattack with his men back through the German position. The German advance was stopped. His official citation would later state that he had killed or wounded approximately 50 German soldiers in that action alone, single-handedly, on a burning vehicle, for 1 hour. Audie Murphy received the Medal of Honor for the action at Holtzwihr. He received it from General Alexander Patch on June 2nd, 1945. Murphy was 20 years old. Let's count what Audie Murphy earned during World War II. Medal of Honor, Distinguished Service Cross, 2 Silver Stars, the Legion of Merit, 2 Bronze Stars with Valor, the Purple Heart with 2 oak leaf clusters, wounded 3 separate times, plus decorations from France, Belgium, and the French Legion of Honor. 28 medals total. The most decorated American combat soldier of World War II. The boy who was too small to fight. The farm kid who dropped out of school to feed his brothers and sisters. The soldier who spent 2 years in continuous combat from North Africa to the heart of Germany. He was 20 years old. Life magazine put Murphy on their cover in July 1945. America fell in love with the baby-faced Texas boy who had almost single-handedly won the war. Hollywood called. In 1955, Murphy starred in To Hell and Back, the film adaptation of his autobiography. It was the highest-grossing Universal Pictures film in history at that point. Audiences packed theaters to see the most decorated soldier of the war play himself on screen. Murphy was charming, handsome, the perfect American hero. But behind the smile, something was deeply wrong. Murphy couldn't sleep without nightmares. He slept with a loaded pistol under his pillow. He couldn't be in crowds without feeling the urge to find cover. He startled violently at sudden sounds. He was experiencing what we now call post-traumatic stress disorder. In 1945, there was no name for it. No treatment. No understanding. Veterans were expected to come home, get a job, and move on. Murphy couldn't move on. He talked about the war constantly. Then he couldn't talk about it at all. He became addicted to sleeping pills prescribed by doctors who didn't know what else to do. He gambled. He struggled with money, despite his fame. He went through periods where the man who had held off 250 German soldiers couldn't leave his own house. In 1971, Murphy did something remarkable. He spoke publicly about what we now call PTSD. At a time when mental health was not discussed, when admitting psychological struggle was considered weakness, Murphy stood up and said, "The way we treat veterans is a disgrace. These men went to war for this country. They came back broken, and we left them alone with it. He pushed for better treatment of veterans. He pushed for recognition that psychological wounds were as real as physical ones. He was planning to open treatment centers for veterans when his plane crashed in the fog near Roanoke, Virginia. May 28, 1971. Audie Murphy was killed instantly. He was 45 years old. He is buried at Arlington National Cemetery. His grave is the second most visited in Arlington after President Kennedy's. Every day, people come to stand at that simple headstone. Veterans who understand what he carried. Families who lost someone to the same invisible wounds. Young soldiers who know his name before they know almost any other from that war. When the Army almost turned away that skinny teenage boy from Texas, they nearly made the worst mistake in their history. When the Marines said he was too small, they were measuring the wrong things. When the paratroopers rejected him, they were looking at a body and missing everything that mattered. Because what made Audie Murphy wasn't his size. It was 2 years of hunting to feed 12 children. It was watching his mother work herself to death and deciding that the people depending on him would not go without. It was the thing that made him climb onto a burning tank destroyer and hold off 250 German soldiers for an hour. The same thing that had kept a family alive in Hunt County, Texas, during the Great Depression. The refusal to stop. The refusal to leave the people behind him unprotected. The refusal to accept that the situation was hopeless when there was still something he could do. The Germans who advanced across that field in Holtzwihr on January 26, 1945, never knew who they were dealing with. They saw one American soldier on a burning vehicle. They should have turned around. After the war, a reporter asked Murphy what he was most proud of. He thought for a moment. That I brought most of my men home, he said. Not the medals, not the movies, not the fame. That he brought his men home. The boy who wasn't supposed to be there. The soldier who was too small. The veteran who carried wounds no one could see. Audie Murphy proved that the Army's instincts about size and strength and background were wrong. He proved that what you're made of has nothing to do with how much you weigh. And on a frozen field in Alsace, France, with a burning tank destroyer under his feet and 250 German soldiers in front of him, he proved it in the most definitive way possible. 1 hour, alone. Unstoppable. If you believe the men who bled for this country deserve to be remembered, hit that subscribe button. And if you want to see what happened when another soldier laughed at 90 Germans who had a gun in his stomach, the story of Leonard Funk, and the most insane 60 seconds of combat in World War II, that video is next. Thanks for watching.